So, as always, you guys already know that I've always got these kind of thoughts in my head. And another one came to me, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, bro, what is Arne Slot? Like, not even a what is a Arne Slot, just because that's rude, I feel. What is Arne Slot? Like, what is what's your vibe in football terms? Obviously, what's the context? What's the philosophy? What's the identity? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, what is it about you that we can sit here and pinpoint and say that's Arne Slot football? For example, we sit there, we know Pep Guardiola, right? We've seen him for years, so maybe that's a little bit unfair. Let me use a Roberto De Zerbi. Let me use a Mikel Arteta. Let me use a Jabi Alonso. Let me use a Nagelsmann. Let me use a Vincent Company. Let me use Hansi Flick, right? Forget even the teams that they're managing, right? Because they're all managing good teams, bar obviously Jabi Alonso, who's currently out of management. But they're all managing good teams. So of course, some of this is going to be inflated in terms of the result, right? Because we saw what Vincent Company, his style of football, what he was doing with a Burnley, and then the end result of that. I mean, he got the Bayern Munich job, but it is what it is, right? But regardless of that, using Vincent Company as an example, you can see what he was trying to do. There was a form of identity. Forget if it works, if it doesn't work, if it's great, if it's not great, if you like the football, if you don't like the football. Just forget all of that. I feel like that is so irrelevant. Do you understand what your manager is trying to do? Whether you like it or not, do you just get that part of it? Then we can move on to, yeah, well, it's then down to the individual. It's then down to what you perceive to be good, what you perceive to be bad, context. Are you going for a title? Are you trying to avoid relegation? Blah. Yeah, we can get into all of that. We can look at a Southampton from a last season as an example and say, yeah, maybe that style of football can't really work. Oh, no problem. But do you get what Russell Martin was trying to do? You didn't like it, but did you understand what he was trying to do? Burnley fans, I'm sure they probably looked at it and said, it's good football, it's nice and it's pleasing on the eye, but that's not what we need, right? But did you at least understand it? And I feel like that for me is why I asked the question, what is Arne Slot? Do you get what I mean? Like, what are you? Because I don't know and understand as to what it is I feel that you're trying to do. Do you get what I mean? Like, what is your end game here? Like, are you trying to be a possession based team, which is fine. At this point, I don't think anybody actually even cares. Are you trying to be a possession based team that we probably saw in the first part of last season for Liverpool, right? When they went on to win the title, where they slowed everything down. There was still obviously the Klopp football because every now and again, yet the counter attacking, and we saw that that's what Liverpool were, kind of doing anyway, but it was just slowed down. It wasn't so fast from the jump. It was in moments. It was only in those kind of key moments when the team felt, yep, we can go, we can push forward, etc., etc. He didn't like some of it because he still felt that the team were pushing forward or they were trying to get the ball forward a bit too quickly. But there was a level of understanding as to what it is that he was kind of trying to do, right? You've got these players. These are your players, right? So you guys can see the lineup. We know the lineup. We know the backup players. We know this, that, and the third, right? These are the players that you have to, or you have had to work with over the course of a season. Yes, Leone obviously got himself injured out for the season. Isak obviously picked up an injury. Ekatike is obviously now injured. Bradley, Frimpong, blah, blah, blah. Cool. But these are the players that you've had to work with. When you guys watching this, when you look at this team, right? Now, obviously, Salah's obviously not on there, but when you look at this team, what are the areas that you look at and think, okay, from what we know or what we think Arne Slot's style of play actually is, this is what he's trying to do. These are the type of players that we feel we need, not what you need. So I know, yes, everybody, we need a six. We need someone tackle, blah, 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 cool, whatever. We need pacey wingers to do this, blah, 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 cool, whatever. No problem. I've got no issues with that. You like what you want to like, right? Do you know what I mean? Like we're allowed to like what we want to like. We don't need to agree, but we are allowed to like what we want to like. What do you think on a slot? And I'm asking everybody this. What do you think Arne Slot needs? Forget what we feel the team needs. What do you think Arne Slot is looking at. Like, so when it comes to the summer, this is obviously provided he stays at the football club, which I don't know right now. It's kind of mixed signals at the moment. But let's just say he stays, right? And with the style of play that he's currently got, what do you think he needs? Because when he joined Liverpool, there was this big talk about his time, obviously at Feyenoord, the build-up play, right? So he wants to be able to play out from the back. No problem. That is modern day football. We're cool with that. You know what? It would be nice if we could start playing out from the back instead of just getting Van Dijk to pump the ball into Salah and Salah holding off the player, blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of just go from there. That's cool. I think everyone's easy with that, right? Do you guys look at that, right? And by the way, this is me guessing. So if anybody in the comment section can tell me, please tell me, because I might be wrong. I don't know. I'm trying to get the answer, right? You guys look at that back line, right? So whether it's Kirkes, obviously Robertson from from this season, Van Dijk, Kanate, throw in a Joe Gomez. Obviously, we're getting in Xhaka. You got Leone, Frimpong, Bradley. Look at that back line. And obviously adding Alisson and Mamadashvili. Does that back line say to you, we can build from the back? Are they comfortable, in your opinion, or maybe even in Slot's opinion? Does he look at that back line and immediately say, this is a back line we can play out from the back, no problem? We've got all technical players in there, players who are comfortable, receiving the ball to feet in those kind of areas, even though they know that an on-rushing attacker is coming towards them, no problem. They're comfortable in the possession. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there are Mateus Nunes and Aït-Nouri, Nico O'Reilly, Mark Gahey, Calafiori, Hincapié, Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, Ben White. They're of that level in terms of getting the ball, being comfortable in those areas, and still trusting what the managers ask them to do. Or a Brighton, and name any one of Brighton's defense, Van Heck, whoever, right? Dunk, the whole nine, right? Is that a defense that you guys can sit here and say, yeah, that's calm, no worries, we can do that? I'm not saying for you guys to say throw out one random game. I'm saying, do you look at as a whole at the team and you said, cool, no worries, no worries? That's the first question, right? The next point. So as I said, this is just from what we have seen in terms of all the videos that everybody did and all the videos that were posted out when Liverpool obviously got in Arne Slot. One of the next things was him obviously looking at the midfield, right? He likes the squad. He likes the rotation. So whether it's a Bozolai, Gravenberg, McAllister, obviously now Florian Wirtz, he likes the rotation of that midfield. Do you guys look at that midfield and say that's a midfield who can rotate cohesively? That's a midfield that understands when they do rotate and when they do go into different areas, different positions on the pitch, whether that be in the DM, central midfield, number 8, the number 10 position, it doesn't really matter because they all understand their roles. They all understand what it is that they are trying to do when they go into those positions. Do you guys look at the midfield and do you think that that's something that we can do with the current midfield? Of course, yes, we can get in players. We'll talk about that in a moment. But do you look at that and say, boom, I get it. Yeah, these guys, now trust me, G, they can do it. No problem if your answer is yes. No problem if your answer is no. Again, that's just a question for you guys to be able to try and answer in the comment section, because I really want to know, and I feel like we need to really understand as to what it is Arne Slot is looking for, and can these players even do what he's even asking for? But cool, we'll get to all of that soon, right? Now you look at the attack. When you look at the attack, obviously he had Santiago Jimenez, right, at Feyenoord, someone banging all the goals, blah, blah, blah. So he was kind of a player who at times would drop into that kind of, number 10 kind of positions. And then you had your runners, or at times you'd be on the last line. Does that kind of fit that mold? I would say so. Obviously, he's been injured this season, so of course we've not been able to see the full repertoire of a fully fit Alexander Isak. We've kind of seen it with Ekitike. We have kind of seen it. He's someone who does like to drop in, and he can also play on the last man. He's got the pace to be able to do so. The striker position, I don't feel like that's actually too much of an issue, because I almost feel like he needed a striker like an Isak, someone who I just need you to really just be there to score the goals. Yes, obviously help out in the build-up play if you can. I almost feel this is exactly what it is. He's got Ekitike and he's got Isak. I almost feel he needs Isak's finishing, but Ekitike's kind of build-up play. If you could have mixed that into one player, I feel like that would have been the perfect individual, because you kind of saw it anyway with Diogo Jota, with Darwin Núñez. They weren't really getting that many chances, but obviously the one or two chances that these guys were getting, you saw, yeah, obviously they're not finishers like that. They weren't like bagsmen, so they couldn't always put that away, kind of thing. But they help out in the build up. In the build-up play, they help up in terms of, just stretching the play, whether it's even just drawing a defender out there to do whatever it is that they need to do, right? Creating space for others. Ekatike and Isak combined would be the perfect play. I don't think they're, maybe Harry Kane or Ousmane Dembele, maybe, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even say Harry Kane because he's not that quick, but let's say Ousmane Dembele, right? He's someone who can drop deep, can get in behind, pull out wide, do this, do that, and he can shoot left foot, right foot, and he can finish, right? So maybe Ousmane Dembele is the type of player that he's probably kind of looking for. But you know what I mean? He's got what I feel he needs. Again, guys, let me know in the comment section if I'm chatting absolute was. But I feel he's got what he needs in the striker department, but it's spread across two players. It's not the same player, which is probably what he hoped and needed, but ultimately he's kind of got it in some way, shape, or form, right? So I don't even think the striker situation is as peak as people are making it out to be. Yes, Isak, we want him to be more involved and all that, but I'm trying to look through the lens of an Arne Slot. I don't feel like he's looking at it like that. I feel like if he can get involved, then get involved, no problem. But that's why you've got throwing verts there to be able to do the getting involved part. These two can link up, boom, bam, bim, Bob's your uncle, and then you can kind of go from there. Almost, I guess, probably what like I say, a PSG is kind of doing, or what a Cherki and Haaland are kind of doing, where you've got your number 10 who can get involved in all of that kind of build-up play, get involved in, just kind of feeding the pass into a Haaland, or playing Haaland obviously through, or again, linking up with the wide players. He's just that connector. That's what Cherki is. And I feel like that's exactly how he would like a throwing verts to obviously be. We know that hasn't really worked out that way, but cool, whatever. We now look at the wingers. The winger situation is the one where I'm the most confused, right? Because that's the one I look at and think, I don't know if you really want pacey wingers or you want technical wingers, because I don't really feel like there's a player who's pacey like that and is really, really ultra technical. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the wingers are fast, like they're wingers, innit? Ultimately, they can do their thing. But would I say Yamal is like, Yamal ain't got like blistering pace. Do you get what I'm saying? And he don't really, he's got pace enough to get beyond someone, or maybe getting behind every now and again, but come up against someone kind of semi-fast, I feel like they can catch up to you. And your game isn't really based around that. Correct, Scalia? Your game isn't really based around that. Barcola is probably the best kind of mix between the two. So is it someone like a Barcola? Because I feel like when he plays like a Rio or anything like that, it then just comes down to like an individual thing. Like I don't feel like it's weird, but I don't feel like playing Rio for Arne Slot. I don't feel like it works, because I'm like, I don't really know what he's going to do within the system you're trying to create. You're trying to keep hold of possession, create moments. Rio can do that in terms of his own individual ability, but if it doesn't really work out, going back the other way, it's going to be a bit techie for you. And is that something that you want to have, as much control of the ball as is humanly possible, right? Because that's what you're all about: control, possession, total football, keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball. Rio, yes, if he can give you that individual moment, brilliant. But is he going to do it that much? No. He's not a goal scorer. He's not going to get you bare assists at this moment in time. Does it work? Not really too sure. Salah worked last season because you could legislate for him not defending, leaving those gaps that you guys can obviously see between, say, like the right back Bradley and Salah in that position, and you can get everybody else to do the running. You can get the other players to do the running, fill in the gaps. Bozlai, fill in that gap over there, or grab him, whoever, fill in those gaps over there, because you've got a player who can 8 times out of 10, he'll put the ball in the back of the net, or he's setting up a chance. Do you get what I'm saying? Like when you've got someone who's got that level of ability to do that, then you're like, okay, I can legislate for the other stuff, because the reality is, can you find any other players out there who can 8 times out of 10, they're affecting the game, they're affecting the scoreboard in some way, shape, or form, right? No one in the team can do that. No, not one other player in the team, I believe, could do it to the level of a Mo Salah. Maybe Isak if he's fit, but again, I'm going to say Salah's above him, in that kind of regards. So when you've got that, it then creates this kind of, okay, That one player this season has obviously not been great. He's not been good and blah, blah, blah. No problem, right? We then need to figure out another way of playing. You got in Florian Wirtz. You spent all this money on him. Can he be the linker? Can he be the connector? Can he be the guy that's going to, okay, we're going to just play through me? Ultimately, this season, we ain't really seen that. We haven't really seen that this season. And I feel like for whatever reason, whether it's just because it's Mo Salah and, you know, all of these kind of things, I don't really know. But we just haven't actually seen much of that. It just kind of seems that Wirtz picks up the ball, or he's trying to pick up the ball from like the centre backs, and we're like, okay, but you're the number 10s, or like, what you doing here? And even when he was playing like false nines or the 2 10s or whatever you want to call them, like, again, you're picking up the ball in these kind of positions, and we're like, don't really know if we kind of need you here, but all right, cool, no worries, it is what it is, right? So obviously, look at Liverpool here. This is obviously against Chelsea, and obviously we heard Mark Cucurella talking about, you know, the kind of space that Salah was going to leave in behind him. Now, again, it worked last season because you had a fully on form Salah who was able to still put the ball in the back of the net. This Salah's not on form, so even the way that the team is obviously pressing, you can see on that right hand side, Reece James, he's free. Gakpo there is kind of caught in a bit of an indecision here because he's either going to, obviously, you've still got Isak who can get to Achimpong, potentially. That ball, I mean, from Cucurella's position here is not going to fly over to Reece James, but Reece James is free. He can come into the middle of the park and then congest that. Once he congests that, that creates a problem in that middle of the park because Liverpool are always going to be -1 sort of in those kind of areas, right? Not a problem. I guess it is what it is, because obviously you're defending at this moment in time. But once that then does happen, it's then about the structure. Now, I'm not saying that Kirkes needs to be on, I think that's Neto on that side. I'm not saying he needs to be on Neto's neck, but there is that space there. If they then double up on him, which at times they would do, that can create a problem. But the bigger problem is obviously the spacing behind Salah, because as you can see here, you've got Pedro, who's that? Enzo Fernandez and Cucurella there, right? You got, sorry, it's Badiashile who's on the ball, sorry, but you got Cucurella, Pedro, and you've got Enzo, right? You've got Enzo Fernandez plus whoever that is, Garnacho. That's 4 players. Now, Salah's out of the game now. So Cucurella and Enzo Fernandez can easily just play amongst themselves. Does Gravenberch then come out? Does Kanate, does he then follow Joao Pedro? Does he follow him and say, okay, yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to track him in there. If you do that, does that then leave a runner for someone like Garnacho to then run into that space? If he runs into that space, what then happens then going back the other way? Everybody's kind of scrambling back. It's the structure. What is your structure? And again, I'm asking a question because I don't know. Jerry asked this, big up to my guy, Jerry. Jerry asked this question months ago. What is the structure? What is the identity of Liverpool? I don't know. I'm just asking the questions. I'm hoping one of the tacticos watch this video, they see this. I'm hoping someone from the Anfield Rap, do you know what I mean? I'm hoping someone can see this video and they can lay out exactly what it is that Arne Slot is trying to do. And then we can have that discussion in terms of the profile of players that Liverpool need and things like that, right? Cool. Liverpool come up against a team who play 3 at the back, 5 if you want to call it that, but 3-5-2 or 3-5-2 essentially, right? No problem. Cool. How do Liverpool set up in that kind of situation? Well, again, there's going to be spaces because ultimately you're pressing here with a Salah and Isak, 2 players who are not notoriously known for wanting to be able to press. But hold on, they've got the 3 at the back. I think that's Lamina obviously on the ball. Once he's now got the ball, Gay and Richards obviously are going to split. Once they split, that then creates a problem for Liverpool. What does Salah do? What does Isak do? Does Kirkes and Bradley in this game specifically, do they push forward? If they then push forward, does that then leave space for Mitchell and Munoz? What does the midfield 3 then actually do in those situations? I feel like this is something that's been happening quite a lot for Liverpool over the course of the season. You've got Kanate, this is obviously against Manchester City, I believe, but you got, against Manchester City. Again, Kanate, he's getting the ball quite a lot when Liverpool are in possession. Okay, is there a reason as to why he's getting the ball quite a lot? Is it, do we need him to have the ball, so much? Again, other teams I feel are looking at that and thinking, yeah, we can give the ball to Kanate on that right-hand side. It's not a problem. The ball's not going to get into Salah. And even if it does get into Salah, he's not going to really do too much. When Kanate does have the ball, we either want him to dribble out with it because he does like to venture forward at times like a Matip. If he does venture forward, that's just going to leave a massive gap at the back there, because what then happens is the two fullbacks then decide that they're going to bomb forward for some weird reason. Once they do that, usually maybe a Gravenberch or someone might potentially drop in. Curtis Jones, I've seen him do it quite a few times. They might potentially drop in, but we know that then at the back, that structure, it's gone. It's gone. Why is it gone? Is that by design so that Liverpool have the numbers going forward? Is that just risk versus reward? It could be something as simple as that. Again, I'm trying to figure, that part out. You can see, obviously, it kind of happens here in this game against Brentford. I can't remember who had the ball initially, but again, it's just one of those kind of things. Once you see that Liverpool lose the possession of the ball, you can see boom, bam, bim. Look who's almost behind the Liverpool midfield. Yes, cool, you've got the ball, so I kind of get it in that kind of instance. But look at the Liverpool players who are, let's say, I think Thiago, the striker, is going to get the ball, right? Or he's about to receive the pass. 1, 2, 3. You got the 3 Liverpool players just behind him. I don't know who they are, but you got 3 Liverpool players. I don't know who that. That looked like Verts, who's just kind of just stood there like, brother, why didn't you pass the ball? But I'm not going to say specifically. Then you've got the 2 strikers, obviously up top. All right, so that's 5 players already out of the game, plus whoever that is who's just on the bit of the, because the pass has obviously gone into Thiago. So that's 6 players effectively out of the game. So you only really got the 5 players left. Brentford are obviously going to attack with some pace, and I believe that they scored from this. The structure, what is that build-up play supposed to be like? Was most of last season's success just really down to the fact that Salah was able to just almost overperform because he was scoring so many goals, because he was getting the assists? He was able to help the team in those moments. And because he had a lot of those moments when everything just clicked, whereas more often than not, again, world-class players will have that, and he is a world-class player, but not everybody has that. So yes, a player can show, Semenyo can show moments, but he's not a world-class player. He ain't going to have many of those moments across a season, right? Because he hasn't got that level of consistency at that kind of level. So you're not going to see it that often. What you're going to see is it's going to be quite inconsistent. You'll know that he can perform at this level, just not consistently at this moment in time. But we know that Mo Salah can do that. Whether we knew he was going to do what he did last season, who knows? But at least we know that he can do that. He can produce. So guess what? We're going to have a system that's kind of just set up so that he can have as many moments as he possibly can within these kind of games. Was that really the system? I don't know. I really, really don't know. But again, these are questions that quite a few of us are asking. These are genuinely questions that a few of us are asking. When Liverpool have got the ball, you guys can obviously see here. First of all, this is all in real time. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, let's not even pretend this is all in real time. Let's start from the beginning here. So this is exactly how I feel Liverpool play when we watch them. Obviously, you can speed it up a little piece, but this is kind of how it is. Van Dijk, he gets the ball. When he gets the ball, he might pop it into Gravenberch for some weird reason. Florian Wirtz is dropped back into that position. Now Liverpool are going to move forward. Frimpong now moves into this kind of right wing position. Once he does that, Salah, kind of between the two of them, they almost just then decide. But then Florian Wirtz gets the ball. Obviously, he likes being on the ball. That's not a problem. Now he's going to potentially try and link up with a Gakpo or an Isak over on that left-hand side. Kerkez almost feels like he's in the way at this kind of point. Obviously, you can see straight from the off when I'm looking at this, right? One of the things that I was thinking about was that you start to see stuff like this, right? So one of the main things I see, I know it's a little bit blurry, but it's almost like this. Liverpool, it's almost like they play in their zones, right? So you can see the lines on the pitch in itself, right? So the 4 kind of sections that they've got. It's almost like Liverpool play in those zones. So Van Dijk can only be in that left centre-back side. Can't really come into the middle too tough because, do you know what I mean? That's going to be reserved for Gravenberch if he decides to obviously come back in there, or whoever. Konate, the same thing. Kerkez, again, in that kind of same position. Frimpong, again, in that kind of same position. It's only really players like a Florian Wirtz who can kind of move around and etc. Even an Alexander Isak, when he has played this season, when he has obviously been fit, again, even him, it's like he plays in this one zone and one zone only. So he's not really getting involved in the build-up play as such, but it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll try and do this, or we'll try and cool. Again, I'm just asking the question. I'm genuinely just asking the question. What is it you're supposed to be doing? You know? You got this one here. Let's see if it's gonna. Yeah, there we go. So this is literally how I feel Liverpool play. The ball slowly goes up to Van Dijk. He kind of just dawdles on the ball. The team kind of get themselves into some type of shape. But then he passes it to Konate. Once he passes it to Konate, you can see Frimpong is gone. So Bozolai will kind of fill in there. Ball goes into Florian Wirtz. Usually in that position, it's all very slow. It's all very methodical. It's all very like, yeah, very monotone and kind of boring and rare tear. Yeah, okay, cool. If you're going to do that, this is what we are trying to figure out. This is what we're trying to understand. Why do you play such slow, methodical football? I'm not hearing, yes, because Liverpool didn't have a preseason and the block. No, 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 no. Why is it you don't do that? The fitness side of it, yeah, you can attribute that to not having a great preseason as a whole, right? Usually it's just like one player. So like a Cole Palmer might not had a full preseason, but like he's going to be off the boil a little bit in terms of his own level of fitness. Isak hasn't had a full preseason with Liverpool, so he's going to be kind of off the ball. Fair enough. I'm just trying to figure out, when Liverpool have the ball, why is it so slow to get the team moving forward? Because I reckon if it was just a little bit faster, first of all, it would look a lot better. But cool, forget looks are, that's all subjective, right? Do you know what I mean? Like whether you think someone's handsome or not, or whether someone's nice or not, that's all subjective. I'm saying, for me, I'm thinking about, but doesn't it just logically make more sense if you just move the ball a little bit quicker? Like, I don't understand why moving it slow would be a good thing for you. All you're doing is allowing a team to stay within their shape. And once they're staying within their shape, it's just about moving across, whether it's left, whether it's right. I don't feel like being slow about it is going to help. Even if you could do all the rotations in the world, Isak can make 20 runs and the midfield can move around 10 million times. I don't feel like that makes much sense. I really don't. Do you get what I mean? Like, again, you don't have Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Messi, David Villa, Pedro. You ain't got that kind of quality of player where it doesn't actually matter. We will keep playing like this, and eventually we'll just click into gear some random time and we'll win the game 6-0. You don't have that. It's not that. Do you get what I'm saying? And it doesn't need to be that, to be honest with you. It really doesn't. PSG don't do that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's done with a little bit more gusto. It's done with a little bit more pace. It's not super fast. It really isn't, because it doesn't need to be. It's just done a little bit quicker. Is that, again, a manager issue? Is that the players that you have, they just can't do it? They're just not good enough to do it. Do we then need to look at it and think, okay, maybe he needs to get in some new players? If he gets in those new players, what's the type of profile that he's looking for? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is the type of player that this guy is actually looking for? Because I know that people are somewhat confused when it comes to that, because we don't really know. Does he want the physical midfielder in there? Does he feel he needs the physical midfielder? Again, he's a manager. Remember what he's coming from. Total football. Them physical Donnies, like, who can't really, we don't need all that. You know what I need in there? I need a Zubamendi, hence why he was trying to go for a Zubamendi. Adam Wharton makes sense in my mind for the type of football that I think he's trying to play. Because then, man, it's not about the physical, bro. Look, we're going to have all the possession anyway. So we just need players who are really, really good on the ball. Can it work? I'm not saying it can't. I'm definitely not saying it can't. I'm just trying to figure out what are the type of players. The wingers, again, I'm trying to figure that part out. Doué's not blisteringly, they're quick. Obviously, like, most of the wingers are going to be quick anyway, but like, they're not super rapid. They're not Barcola level fast, right? So does he want those type of ball to feet type of wingers who can get in behind every now and again? If so, a Yan Diamonde doesn't really make too much sense for me, because he's not really that type of guy. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not saying he's not a good player, but he reminds me of like a Semenyo. He reminds me almost of that kind of, he's like a mix between like a Semenyo and like a Doku. So again, is that what you want, or you feel that you need? I don't know if that's exactly what he needs. So when everyone is talking about we need pace on the wings, do we? I'm not that convinced. I'm not saying he's not going to get pace on the wings, so please don't shoot me down if he does get someone really, really fast like a Barcola. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to figure it out in terms of the type of individual that he might be looking for. But again, it's one of those, man. It's one of those. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, what is Arne Slot? Like, what are you? Like, what I don't really understand what your identity actually is, because we've seen, like, it's been kind of just a mesh. And guys, listen, throw in all your stats. Go on your Optas or whatever and tell me the pressing stats for all the players if you want. Tell me, I don't know, the possession stats. Tell me all of that. Tell me all of that. Like I said, I want to have a discussion about it. So tell me all of that. Let me know, because I want to understand. And then I think once we all understand, once there's a general consensus as to the understanding of what Liverpool actually is, exactly what Arne Slot is, I feel that things become easier in terms of, you obviously you're still going to be annoyed that he's here, but just in terms of, I get it. And that's all he needs. Forget the losing and whatever. Cool, brother. Like, people lose. Klopp's lost enough times, but it's all about, do you get what he's trying to do, though? Do you understand why he's trying to do what he's doing? Okay, cool, I get it. Let me wait a sec. Obviously, if you do it and it doesn't work, then yeah, cool. Then it's warranted that people want you to leave. But at this moment in time, we don't even understand what you're trying to do. So people want you to leave, but then some people saying, yeah, but he hasn't had a full set of players. And it's like, well, does that really matter? Oh, but when he signs this player, it's going to change. Well, will it? Because we don't really know what that player is coming in to do. Too many unanswered questions. Way too many. So let me know your thoughts. Just let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What is Arne Slot? That's really what it is. What is Arne Slot? Let me know, and I'll catch you guys soon, man. Peace.